Can you hear me? No? No? How about now? Yes? Okay, great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Leadership Upper Arlington's Meet the Candidates Night. My name is Molly Seguin, and I serve as the Community Engagement Manager with the Upper Arlington Community Foundation. This program is a time-honored, nonpartisan tradition in our community designed to connect and educate Upper Arlington residents ahead of each local election. Tonight is not about politics or debate. It is about learning and understanding, and we're so glad you're here to take part. I'd like to pause and thank a few key people who made tonight possible. First, the Upper Arlington Community Foundation's Executive Director, Jessica Grise. Our foundation board, the Leadership UA Advisory Committee, Margie Pizzuti and Brendan King for their assistance with tonight's event. The Upper Arlington Police Department for their support, and of course, the candidates and issue representatives joining us this evening. As a reminder, Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th, and we encourage everyone to visit the Franklin County Board of Elections website for reliable information on candidates' issues, as well as details on voter registration, early voting, and absentee voting. Before we begin, please take a moment and silence all cell phones and electronics. As a special note as well, if you hear something you like during tonight's discussion, we ask that you refrain from clapping or cheering. This ensures that each candidate has the full time they need to answer questions in our tightly timed program and avoids disrupting the sound for community members watching this via live stream. Let's approach tonight's discussion with respect and civil discourse, hallmarks of what make this event so meaningful. I'm also excited to share that applications for the Leadership Upper Arlington 2026 cohort will go live in October. For more details, you can visit our table out in the lobby or the Upper Arlington Community Foundation website. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome to the podium Margie Pizzuti, former member of the Upper Arlington Board of Education, former foundation board member, former president and CEO of Goodwill Columbus. Margie has spent her career transforming lives through mission-driven service. She's known for her optimism, her belief that giving back is essential, and for being someone who inspires others simply by her example. Please join me in welcoming Margie.
What Molly didn't say is I was 6'2" when I started my career. So it's okay. It's all good. Thank you, Molly, actually, for that kind introduction. And good evening to everybody. It's a great turnout. It's my honor and privilege to be with you, welcoming UA residents, candidates, and other community members to this Leadership Upper Arlington Meets the Candidate Night. Events like this really are what make this community special. Upper Arlington is unique in the way we truly care about, and engage with the individuals who are in public service. And that's really special and unique to other communities. And it's a place where we value being informed, connected, and active participants in decisions that shape our schools, that shape our neighborhoods, and that shape our city. This evening is a wonderful example of that commitment. Leadership UA's Candidates Nights, as you may know, has been a long-standing event and a nonpartisan tradition. It's about education. It's about transparency. It's about offering our residents an opportunity to hear directly from candidates on this fall's ballot. These events remind us why civic engagement matters. It matters truly a lot. And we all benefit when citizens can connect firsthand with our candidates who are running for office. During my 12-year tenure, on the Upper Arlington Board of Education, which I sometimes tell folks it's like dog years. For every year you're on school board, it's like 7 years. So I was on school board for 84 years. Just want you folks to know. I loved every moment of it, and it was absolutely an honor and a privilege to serve. But my 12-year tenure gave me the opportunity to truly appreciate that our community is uniquely defined by the quality of our schools. And while it's always about continuous improvement, it really is that. And decisions made at the board level influence every student, every family, and the broader community. And I can tell you, when boards work collaboratively with focused commitment and the entire community, we all thrive. That's the same principle, collaboration and respect, that guides the way we approach this event this evening. We've worked hard to make sure that it has those guiding principles. So I want to thank all of the candidates for being here. You are truly heroes and sheroes, I say, because it's not always easy to step into the public spotlight, yet it's essential for our community to have these conversations. I hope everyone finds tonight engaging, inspiring, and informative, and I wish all the candidates the very best. And now it's my pleasure to turn back to Molly. Molly?
Thank you, Margie. We are pleased to have Kurt Ludlow of ABC6 and Fox 28 to moderate tonight's forum. Kurt anchors the morning news from 4:25 to 9 a.m., which is early time. So thank you for being here this evening. He's won numerous Associated Press and Emmy Awards and is also the recipient of the prestigious Edward R. Murrow Award from the Radio, Television, Digital News Association. He has spent most of his 30+ years covering issues and events that are making a difference in the lives of Central Ohioans. Kurt is a graduate of the University of Colorado and received a law degree from Capital University right here in Columbus. Kurt and his wife live here in Upper Arlington and are active residents. Please help me in welcoming Kurt.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It is great to be back, and it's wonderful to see so many folks coming out tonight to learn about these great candidates we have as you decide who to vote for in this upcoming election. Before we begin the moderated part of the evening, just another gentle reminder to turn off your cell phone. As we've mentioned, this is being live streamed tonight. Links will be available on the city's website. And as Molly mentioned, again, please don't clap, cheer, or make additional comments during candidate responses. You can clap for me all you like. Thank you. Okay. And to the candidates, just a reminder to please speak clearly and at a steady volume so that everyone watching remotely can hear your answers without disruption. The list of tonight's questions is based on current issues and questions from our community. We received numerous submissions, which were consolidated into the topics you'll hear this evening. We'll do our best to address as many topics as we can. If we don't have time to get to questions on certain topics tonight, we encourage you to submit your question directly to each candidate. Candidates, you'll have a set time of up to 1.5 minutes, unless otherwise noted, to respond to each question. Please keep in mind you're not required to use all of that allotted time. So if you find yourself agreeing with a previous answer, you can say that and only add any additional information. This will allow us to move through more questions. And again, we ask that you respond with as many specific details as possible. We'll start tonight's forum with a 2-minute introductory remark from our Board of Education candidates, Kip Greenhill, Nidhi Satyani, and Lou Sauter. And so, first, we'd like to hear why you want to serve as a member of the Upper Arlington Board of Education. We'll begin here with Lou Sauter and continue then in alphabetical order. And a reminder, you'll be notified when you have 15 seconds remaining. So, Lou, why do you want to serve as a member of the Upper Arlington Board of Education?
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Lou Sauter, and I'm honored to be asking for your support for my reelection to the Upper Arlington School Board. As a lifelong resident, I grew up here and graduated from Upper Arlington High School in 1989.
Punch the mic, is it on?
I hit it.
Okay, speak, pull it
Oh.
to you and speak up.
Okay, sorry
There you
about
go.
that.
There you go.
Usually people tell me to be quiet. So.
Sorry.
All right. My daughter Demi graduated in 2020 and my son George in 2022. I've been deeply invested in our community for decades, coaching softball for 16 years and wrestling at Upper Arlington High School for 5. I served in the United States Marine Corps for 7 years, and for the past 25 years, I've owned and operated Buckeye Donuts. In 2021, our kids were not in school full-time. As a coach in the high school, I saw firsthand the emotional and mental toll being out of school was having with our kids. I decided to run for school board in 21 because I saw our academic performance slipping and our kids were struggling. Within just 4 months of being reelected, I rallied a majority of my board members to bring students back to school full-time. And since then, we've boosted academic performance by over 15%, a 10-year high. I'm proud to have played a key role in the hiring of our outstanding superintendent, Dr. Bob Hunt, in passing the 2022 operating levy that secured vital resources for our kids and teachers. This levy was projected to last 3 years. However, due to strong fiscal stewardship, we've been able to extend this an additional year, offsetting additional property taxes for our residents. Together with the board, I helped craft and adopt a new strategic plan, and I'm actively overseeing the implementation to ensure every student thrives. I'm also leading efforts in phase 2 of our facilities master plan, focused on rebuilding and remodeling our middle schools in Burbank to create modern and inspiring learning environments, while keeping our primary focus on academics. I've learned that strong leadership means staying laser focused on what matters most, our children's education. That's why I work tirelessly to minimize distractions and support our experienced administrators and teachers in their vital work. And with your help, I'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kip, why do you want to serve as a member of the Upper Arlington Board of Education?
Well, good evening, everyone. I love this community. You know, one of the best moves I ever made is when I left a very good school district at Bexley to come to Upper Arlington. And after being here 17 years as the high school principal, serving 8 years on city council and decades being a resident here and really connecting with so many of you as my neighbors, I feel a real bond to this community. We have good people on our school board. You know, my candidacy is not a reflection on the school board. My candidacy really is a reflection on some of the challenges that lie ahead of us. Schools have really gone through a difficult time, starting with COVID, school safety issues, a lot of the political tensions at the state and national level. This has been one of the most challenging times, I think, to be in education. At the same time, our state legislature is throwing some curveballs at us by the continual reductions in state funding to all school districts, but it's hitting Upper Arlington also. The one thing that I bring to this election, I've got over 43 years of experience in public schools, but in 5 different districts. I don't have the answers, but I do have the experience and bring other perspectives into some very difficult and challenging discussions that are ahead of us because of budget issues. Now, we've got great schools here. This is one of the finest school districts in the state of Ohio. But I do think we can even do better. And I believe what we have to start by doing is making sure we're focused on the right things. And that's strong teaching, high quality learning, and students' mental health. When we invest in our teachers and nurture our students and keep learning joyful and challenging, incredible things are going to happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. That's the voice of God. They've given me the power. Sorry. We're going to try to stick to those times. Sorry, guys. All right. And then finally, Nidhi, why do you want to be a member of the Board of Education?
Good evening. So first, I'd like to thank the Community Foundation, Mr. Ludlow, Jessica, um, Molly, for hosting this event. My name is Nidhi Satyani, and I am here tonight because I believe the future of our students demands thoughtful and proactive leadership, not just promises. My commitment to our district and our students is simple. We must continuously level up. What sets me apart is the lens that I bring to our governance and leadership style. As a scientist, I don't guess at solutions. I use evidence and I ask important questions. This is the core role of our board. We must actively set the long-term vision for our students' future while providing the competent oversight that your vote charges us to do. You've already seen this in action. I was the only voice on our board 2 years ago advocating to use a surplus for proactive investments in our students and teachers. My definition of thoughtful governance is balancing today's needs with tomorrow's opportunities, because inaction is not an option when it comes to preserving educational excellence. I'm running to ensure that every student flourishes by focusing on 3 things: thoughtful and competent governance, which is transparent and based in facts. This means continuously leveraging every tool available to champion our students. Second, preserving excellence, which means advocating for every teacher and championing the strong academics that we have. And the third is building resilience through collaborative community efforts that prepare our students to be thinkers and doers in an exciting and complex world. Your vote is powerful, and I am grateful that you are considering casting it for me. Again, my name is Nidhi Satyani, running for re-election.
All right, thank you. The following questions I'll be asking tonight were developed from submissions we received from people in the community. We received a large number of questions covering a wide range of topics, including both local and national issues. For tonight's program, we've consolidated these into 4 questions that balance broader issues with those most relevant to our community and the current priorities of the school board. So again, want to remind the audience that if a question that you submitted is not asked specifically, or if you have additional questions after tonight, you should reach out to the candidates directly. So we'll begin with our first question. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond. It goes quickly. We'll begin this with Kip and continue then in alphabetical order. This first question is, how would you describe the way you lead, and how do you approach bringing people together if opinions differ, especially in the context of effective decision-making when serving the public interest? And can you share an example from your own community service or from your professional role? Again, we'll begin with Kip.
Well, as I said before, I've got a lot of experience in education, but I don't have the answers. But I think what is the key for a successful school system is collaboration. And I think you have to reach out to, I would start with the teachers first. We need to engage teachers and talk with them as far as what do they need to be even more successful in the classroom, but also what can we do to get out of your way? You have to take that information then also, and this is something I did at the high school, you have to engage with parents. And a lot of you were there with me. Every other Friday, I used to invite 36 parents to come in and talk, and I followed it up with lunch with students. But out of those discussions, we came up with very clear direction. And I'll give you one quick example. Columbus Monthly used to rank the high schools in Central Ohio. They did it every 5 years. My first year at Upper Arlington, Columbus Monthly said, Upper Arlington is a good high school, but it's not living up to its potential. That was a call to action right there to the faculty and to parents. But through some really intense faculty meetings and a lot of discussion, we came up with clear direction. 5 years later, Columbus Monthly came back and said, this is the best high school in Central Ohio. And it sets the gold standard for others. It wasn't what I did. It was the process that we put in place, and really a very effective, dedicated teaching staff for those things to happen. But it goes back, and Margie Pizzuti used the word, it's collaboration, 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 and it takes time, and it takes patience.
Thank you. Nidhi.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. How would you describe the way you lead, and how do you approach bringing people together if opinions differ, especially in the context of effective decision-making when serving the public interest? And can you share an example from your own community service or from your professional role?
Thank you. Lots of parts there to cover in 90 seconds. I believe our community deserves leadership that is defined by truth, courage, and a tenacious commitment to what is best for every student. This core value is threatened when our leadership and governance just defaults to the status quo or avoids healthy disagreement. It's necessary for true progress to have all those voices considered. It's why I have a proven record for taking that courageous action, like I mentioned earlier, from being the only board member advocating for the budget surplus to be used, to also making sure that our board is fulfilling our legal responsibilities of evaluating our treasurer and superintendent. By challenging the status quo when it no longer meets our needs, we model how to bridge those divides, which is critical for our students. When I say I want our students to flourish, it means I don't want them living in my basement. It also means if they want to raise their family in my house, they can pay me fair market value for it. And it's not just I that want that, our students want that as well. Our students are facing a world where there is rising housing costs, high levels of debt, high youth unemployment. It is a really hard time to be a young person right now. And our district leadership has to understand that, our schools need to give our students the skills to succeed in this complex world where it is a very difficult time to be a young person because of all the rising costs and high youth unemployment.
All right, thank you. And then Lou, how would you describe the way you lead, approach bringing people together if opinions differ? And do you have an example from your own life?
Well, I lead by example first and foremost. I was taught that as a young man and reinforced that while I was in the Marine Corps, and it's guided me throughout my life. I've led my way. I've been an active participant in our community by supporting various organizations and kids. But as a school board member, I've led by being a supportive school board member to not just my board, but to our administration. Because our time away, their time is vital to educating our kids, and any distraction that we could provide as a board would be detrimental. I learned early on when I first got on the board, one of my fellow board members said to me, Lou, we took our eye off the ball a little bit. We were really focused on building these new schools and the facilities master plan. And I think, our academics have slipped. And that taught me right away that my actions, my personal actions could take away from the education of our kids. And so I behaved in a way that has allowed us to perform as a board. I've been a good board member. I'm talking about people that, bringing people together that don't agree with you. I surround myself with people that don't agree with me. If you only surround yourself with people that agree with you, you never really get a good picture of everything. I work with people that don't agree with me. We come to a compromise. I support my fellow board members that don't always agree with me. But my goal as a team member of this board is to support each other. And with that, our kids are better. I should not be the story. Our board should not be the story. Our administration, our teachers, and our kids should be the story.
Thank you. Question number 2. Property taxes are a major concern for many residents, and there is ongoing discussion at the state legislature about funding for schools. What innovative strategies would you support to both manage school expenses and identify additional funding sources while minimizing the impact on local property taxes? For this question, we begin with Nidhi, and then we'll continue in alphabetical order.
Thank you for that question. It's a complicated question, and there are lots of moving pieces at the state level. At the local level, I think it is important for us to make sure that we are keeping transparent communication with our community. So for example, we are looking at possibly rebuilding our middle schools and our preschool. In those conversations, we have to talk about what are alternate sources of funding. And so those are conversations that I've been having with our district in terms of bringing in other private-public partnerships to expand our opportunities that we're offering within the buildings, but also to decrease that burden on our taxpayers. it's really important, especially in a district like Arlington, where so much of our funds, so much of our budget is paid for locally, that we are cognizant of the burden that we are placing on our families. And so I think it is critical for us to be having lots of conversations. One of the things that draws people to Arlington is our location. That excellent location means that we have lots of opportunities for partnerships with other industries and businesses.
Thank you. Lou? Property taxes, a major concern, discussions with the state legislature about funding for schools. What innovative strategies would you support to both manage school expenses and identify additional funding sources?
Well, I served 2 years on the finance committee, and I'm proud to say our school finances are strong and in order. And like I mentioned in my opening remarks, we were able to stretch out a 3-year levy to a 4th year to help save taxpayers. The issue of property tax reform is not going away, and there will be more discussions, and I'm glad those discussions are going on. There should be some consideration for seniors and people on fixed income, but we also we don't want to do it haphazardly, and that's why the initial recommendation coming out of the State House was something I was not for, and so I was able to meet with Governor DeWine and express how that would be harmful for our school district. And hopefully he would be able to do something about that. And thankfully he was able to veto that measure. That being said, they did form a committee to discuss this issue, and they're looking in it, and we should be a part of that discussion. We are still part of that discussion. Something will happen and we should be responsible for it, but we genuinely don't know what the end result of that will be. But we have to be flexible enough to be able to handle that. But part of that is a good savings account. And that's why I wanted to have and fought for us to have a 25% reserve built back up into our savings account like we had at this district for years. And that got eaten into during COVID. And so preparing yourself for that financial instability is something we have to do, but also talking to our legislature and letting them know that impact on our community is important. But I do believe that this is something coming in the future.
Kip?
Well, excuse me. Well, there's no doubt that all school districts across the state are going to have some very difficult discussions and very challenging decisions to make. There is no silver bullet to fix school funding. But I think what we have to do is be very proactive, and we need to start having discussions in the community. What is the type of education that we want Upper Arlington students to have? As I said, we're one of the finest school districts in the state, but what does that mean to maintain that status and for us to keep moving ahead so our students have an education that is truly second to none? And those are going to be tough discussions in the community, because it does cost money to provide all the opportunities and the support that we give to students. Not all districts are able to provide what our students receive here. It's going to be challenging discussions, but we're going to have to engage the community. There is no silver bullet.
All right, the next question. Many Ohio families are affected by the state school voucher program, which allows public tax dollars to support private and parochial schools. How do you view the impact of this program on local public schools? And what steps would you take to ensure that Upper Arlington schools continue to receive the funding and resources they need to thrive? For this question, we'll start with Lou and then continue in alphabetical order.
Well, first off, this state has gone through a bunch of changes on school vouchers. The impact on Upper Arlington is minimal, and our state funding increased by a few $1 million last year, and next year it will increase again. So it is not going to impact our school district as much as it will other school districts. It's a complex issue. I work in an area and employ people that send their kids to volatile school districts. I'm talking about school districts that have police that surround the school just to let your kid walk home. And some of those parents don't have an opportunity to go anywhere else. And the voucher program might be something that would give them that opportunity. Is it built the way I would have built it? No, but I'm not in the Ohio legislature. My job is to follow Ohio law. And so I have not supported us joining the lawsuit for this because I thought, one, it was a divisive issue, and divisive issues are distractions, and distractions cost kids education. I learned that right away, and it really has guided me this whole time. And secondly, this issue does not impact our school. It will have no impact on our school whether or not the voucher program is in place. That is different from my own personal opinion on the voucher law as it's written today. But I've also lived here long enough to know that the state, our political sphere in Ohio has changed from the Democrat to Republican, and eventually it'll change from Republican to Democrat. And that voucher program might sway the other way. Our job as school board members is to follow the law, and we should do that.
Thank you. Kip?
Well, I'm a strong believer that families should have the choice of where to send their children to school. However, the voucher law as written in Ohio, I cannot be supportive of. It does take money away from the schools that are needed. There is no accountability or very little accountability or oversight of that money when it goes to private schools. So I can't support the voucher system, as I said. However, that's one part of it. It's also an opportunity for public schools to start to have discussion, and I'm talking Upper Arlington. What do we do so that families don't want to leave and go to another school? And I got to give you a case in point. I probably shouldn't use this name, but I'm going to. There's a teacher by the name of Alicia McGinty. She was the department chair of the art department. We signed an agreement with the Columbus Public Schools for our students to go to Fort Hays for art. Alicia came down to my office just madder than a wet hen and really laid into me for giving our students an opportunity to go to Fort Hays. So I challenged her, let's come up with a way so that our students don't want to go to Fort Hays. And she took me up on it, and she did. And what she came up with, we expanded the art program, became so attractive to students, we had to actually add 2 art teachers. But beyond just more students taking the classes, the highest award that students can receive in art in high school is the Governor's Art Show. The program they put together for 3 years in a row, Upper Arlington had more students in the Governor's Art Show than all of the other Central Ohio high schools combined.
Thank you. Sorry. Many Ohio families are affected by the state school voucher program, which allows public tax dollars to support private and parochial schools. How do you view the impact of this program on local public schools? And what steps would you take to ensure that UA schools continue to receive the funding and resources they need to thrive?
Thank you for that question. I am fighting to preserve public education because we know it is the bedrock of our community. A strong public education system is the best investment that our community can make in our future. And that foundation is being attacked from political interference, harmful state pressures, and fiscally irresponsible schemes. And that's what I would call the voucher program, a fiscally irresponsible scheme. Our legislators are finding different ways to control what is happening within our classrooms, whether it is through the money, through what our teachers say, through what our curriculum is. And I am proud that I was integral to our district joining the lawsuit. It is one of the few things that we can do to actually stand up for public schools. Right now, it is really important for schools to be linking arms. We don't want to be the last standing strong public school in Ohio. That is not a desirable place to be. And so the voucher lawsuit, but also building relationships with other districts is critical. I've been a member of a Central Ohio School Boards Member Association for the last 4 years and monthly meet with school board members from around Central Ohio to understand the challenges that we have in common and to understand the things that make our communities unique. And those things are all being attacked. It is really important that we are doing whatever we can, like I said earlier, whatever tool is at our disposal to support our students.
Thank you. With Upper Arlington voters set to decide on a middle school bond levy in November of 2026, what are your views on the current proposals and phased renovations? And how will you work to keep the community informed and engaged leading up to the vote? And for this question, we'll begin with Kip.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Sure. With Upper Arlington voters set to decide on a middle school bond levy in November of 2026, what are your views on the current proposals and phased renovations? And how will you work to keep the community informed and engaged leading up to the vote?
Well, I think one of the things about being an Upper Arlington resident that we can take a lot of pride in, it's both at the school and the city level, is the level of engagement. I think that we set truly the gold standard as far as getting community input, as far as what they want in the schools, and also do an exceptional job of informing and educating people what is going into that building. So I have complete faith that we will continue with that practice of the community engagement. They will have a voice in our schools.
Nidhi?
Sure. Communication is a very tricky thing these days because there are so many different ways to communicate. There's social media, there's email, there's text, there's phone. There are so many different ways. And I think our schools actually shine when it comes to this. We reach out we bend over backwards to make sure that everyone has heard from us. And I think that is actually one of the things that we do the best is the way that we bring in the community voice, especially learning from different experiences. We learned from 10 years ago when we rebuilt the high school, we learned from the community city council and the way that they built the community foundation or the Bob. And we're learning from how the city is rebuilding the project for senior housing. We continuously learn. We continuously make sure that we are doing better each next time. And I think that's actually one of our many strengths.
Lou?
Do you mind reading it one more time? Kind
Of
of got
course.
lost there now.
With Upper Arlington voters set to decide on a middle school bond levy in November of 2026, what are your views on the current proposals and phased renovations? And how will you work to keep the community informed and engaged leading up to the vote?
Well, I've been actively involved with this whole process since we rolled it out with our administration. And I concur that I think we've done and we will continue to do a good job of having listening sessions, reaching out to our community, getting feedback. I mean, the amount of ideas that we had to start with was, I think we had 10 or 12 ideas for Jones alone. I know Jones is tricky. Had a few ideas for Hastings and not too many for Burbank. One thing I think it's important for us to do, there's two key things I keep trying to hit home with our administration. One, we need to teach the community what's going on at Burbank. A lot of people have no idea what's going on at Burbank. Thankfully, I was able to go visit Burbank today. It is full with preschool kids. The work they're doing is amazing. And you would be embarrassed as citizens of this community if that was your school. Something needs to be done about that school. The building itself is not conducive to the learning environment we have today. The exciting thing is we get to see these kids in these elementary schools that are just amazing, and this high school that's amazing. And then we have these middle schools that aren't functioning. We have these new learning models, these new models that we are teaching our kids, collaborative ways to learn, where teachers are working together, teachers are working in groups, open doors, and then they go to Hastings as an elementary school. Then they move to Hastings and they're thrust back into a learning environment that is totally different from what they were at the elementary school level. And then they go to the high school and go back to this great learning environment that they started out in elementary school in. So there's a break in our model. So we can't keep that going. That is one thing.
Thank
and I
you.
think we need to reinforce that with our community, and they'll support that.
Thank you. As this portion comes to an end, and this is a 30-second closer for you, so hit all your points quickly here. What is the one thing that you want folks here in the community to take away with them tonight that differentiates you from the other candidates? And we'll begin with Nidhi.
We are imagining and creating a really exciting future together, and it has been my privilege to serve on our school board. I sincerely care for the work. I respect our students' needs. I respect our teachers' needs, and I am committed to a broad and holistic approach. I want the chance to continue building that future with you. Your vote is powerful, and I would be honored to earn it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now to Lou.
Well, I'd like to thank Leadership UA, Kurt, and everybody here watching in person and online. Our school district is at a critical moment in time where we evaluate our remaining facility challenges and evolve our academic programs to meet the needs of our kids. Continuity of leadership is important, and I believe I have delivered on my commitments made during my first term. Upon re-election, I will ensure that our board remains focused on the key priorities of our strategic plan and the tradition of excellence we have come to expect from our schools. And my experience as a board member, I've demonstrated my ability to work with my fellow board members to get things done.
Thank you. And finally, Kip, one thing you want community members to take away that differentiates you from the other candidates.
Well, I'm really proud of, my experience working here in Upper Arlington, but I think the one thing that I'm most proud of is I've had the opportunity and had some success working and reaching out to all groups of people, regardless of their politics, regardless of their background. When I became city council president and we put on the agenda to have a community center, that council was very divided. We had some people on one side of the political spectrum saying there's other priorities in this community, no community center. Other people say, and this was actually said from the dais, Greenhill, what part of no don't you understand? This community center has been turned down multiple times, but through a lot of discussion, a lot of coffee meetings, one-on-one, we came together by collaborating.
Thank you.
And it's done.
Thank you. Thank you all for your commitment to our schools and to the future of UA. And at this point, we'd like to invite the Board of Education candidates to take their seats in the audience and have the City Council candidates now come up. And I'd also like to invite Brendan King, our former City Council member and Mayor of Upper Arlington, to say a few words. Yes, now you can applaud.
All right. Thank you, Kurt, and thank you to the school board candidates for their time and preparation. Let's give them a proper round of applause because that felt like we were. City council candidates, as you get settled in your seats, I want to thank you as well for engaging in the community. We have 9 people between the 2 races that are engaged and qualified to serve, and that should be celebrated. Looking back on my time on council and as mayor, it was always very important to me to remain connected to the residents and to the community. While every leader has their own style, the ability to connect with the residents will determine the success of the candidates as they run and as they serve. Upper Arlington's not built on policy or budgets. It's on the engagement of the residents, and that's what makes us special. It's awesome to see this crowd here tonight. I encourage all of you to make sure that if your question is not asked or your issue is not addressed, you seek the candidates out, you find them, and you get your answers before Election Day. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the candidates. All of you help make Upper Arlington the remarkable place that we love. Now back to Kurt for the city council portion. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. And with that, we will continue our forum now with a 2-minute introductory remark from our city council candidates. Yukemi Awakesian Jeter, John Cousins, Nick Fortcamp, Laura Oldham, Michael Stafford, and Ben Tracy. Welcome all. Our first question, we'd like to hear why you want to serve as a member of the Upper Arlington City Council. We begin this round with Ben, and then we'll go in alphabetical order. Ben?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. My name is Ben.
2 minutes,
Tracy.
by the way. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry.
Starting now.
Start over. Go. That's on me, guys. Sorry.
My name is Ben Tracy. I'm running for Upper Arlington City Council. And there's some things I want to do if I'm elected. I want to make sure that we're prioritizing our mature tree canopy, which gives our neighborhoods so much of their excellent character. I want to support working families by working with school board to expand options for after-school care and summer programming for children. I want to make sure that as development continues to stream into Central Ohio, we are being appropriately discriminating about how we develop, making sure that we result with architectural achievements that we can be proud of in 50 years' time. But if you want to know why I'm running, why's, for all its linguistic brevity, is something of a big question. See, when I was a boy, our nation faced a health crisis. But rather than react by putting the vast powers of science and industry to work on the problem, our government became distracted debating the merits of homosexuality. And young men died in droves, felled by a virus that in those days spared no one. One of those men was my older brother. And I say that not to bring down the mood, but to illustrate for you that the costs of government distraction are incredibly dear. Government was invented to do the things that we cannot do for ourselves and which the public market will not do for us. And when government instead becomes embroiled in philosophical debate, when government instead pits ourselves against each other over issues that are fundamentally not government's concern, we all lose. I'm Ben Tracy, and I want to unify. I'm Ben Tracy, and I want to lead you with integrity, with truthfulness, and with respect. I would love your vote in November.
Thank you, Ben. Why do you want to serve as a member of the Upper Arlington City Council? Yukemi?
Good evening. Over the last 4 years, I have had the privilege to serve this community. I've brought innovative, thoughtful, collaborative leadership to our city, a leadership that my council colleagues respect, and selected me to serve as council president, as mayor. We've made a lot of progress in those 4 years. For want of time, of course, I can't list them all, but I'll highlight a few. The Barb Crane Community Center is certainly at the top of that list, delivered on time, on budget, and without raising your taxes. We've also thoughtfully included sidewalks in some of our major thoroughfare design. Think Fishinger and Lane. We've been innovative in thinking about some policy, like our turf maintenance policy, when our residents begged for better playable athletic fields. And we've even put money back in your pockets. Earlier this year, your semi-annual bill was waived. We made a lot of progress. But the thing about progress is that it's too important to leave to chance. If you take your eye off the ball, things go bad. That's why I'm running for re-election. And for the next 4 years, my priority is to commit to helping Upper Arlington rise to the next level of challenges. Now, I wrote a book and I've learned to speak in acronyms. So RISE is an acronym. The R in RISE is to revitalize Henderson Road. We've done Envision Henderson, but it's kind of time to start thinking about what we do next. We need to invest in infrastructure that prioritizes safety and connectivity, because I don't want to hear about e-scooters anymore. And we need to strategize on a master plan for the next 10 years and finally enhance our city services. That's what we need to rise to these next 4 years, and I'll be honored to have you vote again on November 4th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And next to John, why would you like to serve as a member of the Upper Arlington City Council?
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I want to run because I love this community and it has given me so much, and I want to give back. I subscribe to the view that service to others is the rent that you pay when you're in your room on this planet. This is the community that made me a husband 18 years ago when I married my wife at Upper Arlington Lutheran Church. This is the community that made me a father to 3 children. This is the community that made me a youth football coach for the last 9 years. Not a very good one, but one nonetheless. And this is the place where I've been a lawyer for a 17-year career. I started off at Ron O'Brien's prosecutor's office, keeping our streets safe. I've been had the privilege of clerking for Judge Lisa Sadler in the 10th District and Justice Judy French in the Ohio Supreme Court. And for the last 11 years, I've been a family law attorney in private practice. I believe that this is a special place, and I want to keep it a special place. I would lie if I didn't say that I was running a little bit to show off for my daughter, who is in 4th grade and has wanted to be on city council since her field trip. I truly believe that service is the best way to give back, and I would be honored to have your vote in November. Thank you.
Very good. Nick, why do you want to serve as a member of the Upper Arlington City Council?
First, I'd like to say thank you to Leadership Upper Arlington and Kurt. I know the time and resources it takes to put this all together. But for this evening, my name is Nick Fortkamp, and I am running for Upper Arlington City Council. People ask, why are you getting yourself into City Council, and what would you like to do, or what's your why? There's a whole bunch of reasons why I'm doing it, but at the core, it stems from a conversation I had with my dad at Wendy's right there on Northwest Boulevard by the high school. And my dad's an old Marine, and he always said, leave a place better than you found it. And at that time, he was just talking about picking up my trash. But I really have taken that to heart. And it was really about, how do I leave our community in a better place? How do I leave the person I'm talking to or sitting next to in a better place? So I've strived to do that in everything that I do. When I moved back here in Upper Arlington, in Upper Arlington 2017 with my wife, I made a promise to myself and to her, and that would be to give back and make sure that other kids who struggled like I did going through high school had a smoother path than I. So I got to work right away. I joined Leadership Upper Arlington. I started to make relationships, learn about the city. And then at that time, I helped found Equal UA. And then I continued to hear from more perspectives from people all over the community. So I decided to go ahead and see a different perspective. And I went through the Citizens Police Academy here in Upper Arlington. And that helped me build relationships, see different values, and help open up more doors and opportunities to say yes. So I continued to say yes, and I have served on our Education Foundation as a trustee, served as our president of our Alumni Association, along with a multitude of other areas, especially Leadership Upper Arlington. That has been a special place for me in my heart. So moving forward, I continually want to give back to our community, and I look forward to talking more about that.
Thank you, Nick. Laura.
Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Upper Arlington Community Foundation. Thank you, Leadership UA, but mostly thank you for being so engaged, both online and in person. The fact that we live in a community where people care this much is really amazing and unique. So thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. I'm Laura Oldham. I'm running for Upper Arlington City Council to build community connections and climate resilience. I am a small business owner. I'm in digital marketing, and I've been doing that for the last 15 years. I'm a community organizer. I helped found Sustainable Upper Arlington, among other organizations that I'm involved with. I am a wife. I'm a mother to a 10-year-old who is at softball. Bummer. She would love this. But I'm here because we are approaching a very exciting time in Upper Arlington, and I believe I'm a great fit for us to lead through that exciting time. We are improving some of our mobility corridors. We are about to embark on our master plan. And what I care about the most, sustainability, belonging, community, these are things we can weave through all of our decisions. We can make sure that we have complete streets, which means we have protected bike lanes, we have pedestrian-friendly infrastructure, we have maybe raised crosswalks to remind people that our streets are shared spaces. Everyone has a right to the road. It's not just scooters, it's not just cars, it's not just people walking. We're all in this together. And we can put people and planet first in all of our decisions now, and we can shape what the next few decades of UA looks like. So again, I'm Laura Oldham. I'm running for Upper Arlington City Council to build community connections and climate resilience. And I'm hoping to make our community safe and welcoming for people of all backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And now to Michael. Why do you want to serve as a member of the UA City Council?
To echo the words just spoken, thank you all for being here. It does say a lot about our community and one of the things that makes our community great. I'm running for city council because I love this community. I grew up here. We moved back here to raise our kids. I say I grew up here. I got to taste many different neighborhoods growing up. went to Barrington K through 4, St. Agatha 5th, 6th, 7th, Hastings 8th, and then the high school. I got to taste a whole lot of neighborhoods, but the common thread in all of them was their love for the neighbor and their love for the people around them. 4 of the 5 of my siblings have moved back here for the same underlying reason, because they love this place, because this place is home, because this place, regardless of what neighborhood you're in, we cover every school with nieces, nephews, and kids, except Greensview and Whitcliffe. And we've got multiples at everywhere we have one. The community is a big piece. My professional background in finance for the last 21 years, I sit across from small business owners and individuals alike, try to figure out who they are as people, who they are as investors, and what they're trying to accomplish. And then, once we understand all of those things, we move forward and try to put together a plan that makes sense for all of those things without compromising the integrity of who they are as people or investors. All of that experience translates very, very well to what this position is and what this board does. Same with my working board and executive board experience. All of them mission-focused, resources that we have to do it, and how do we get there in a responsible way where we can be sustainable. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Michael. We'll begin with the same question that we asked the Board of Education candidates. And as a reminder, each of you will have 90 seconds to respond. And we'll begin with you, Kemi, and then work alphabetically. This is the question. How would you describe the way you lead, and how do you approach bringing people together if opinions differ, especially in the context of effective decision-making when serving the public interest? And can you share an example from your own community service or from your professional role? You, Kemi?
Thank you. Well, I'll describe my leadership as thoughtful and collaborative. I think the greatest testament to that is that earned the respect of my peers to be selected to serve them as council president and mayor. That's entirely the job, to work with your colleagues thoughtfully on a broad host of issues. You asked for an example, and because I see some of the folks from one of our recent contentious issues in this chamber, and that's NCR, the redevelopment that's going on for National Church residents. Well, that brought a host of confusion, thoughts, different ways that we could think about doing that project. Well, one of the ways we did that is like, okay, we have a lot of community that still has questions. Let's slow this vote down and take it one extra reading. I was responsive to emails. We were thoughtful and collaborative with our colleagues, making sure that city officials understood the questions that came before council, and also repeating those questions right here in chambers and providing responses to them. That's how I lead. We will never all agree, but at least we will all understand how we came to that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. I subscribe to a servant leadership philosophy, and maybe that's because I'm the youngest of 4. I've married the oldest of 4, but I believe that active listening, modesty, humility, and preparation are essential in any type of deliberative function. The example, I could think of about 17 from today. I'm a divorce lawyer. I deal with people in highly charged emotional situations every day of my job. And that has taught me that facts and logic are essential in life, but they're no stronger than emotion. Emotion is just as powerful, and in fact, oftentimes more powerful than any legal or logical argument. So my strength is meeting people where they are, hearing them, changing my view if the circumstances call for it, but not being dismissive. I am vehemently anti-dismissively spending other people's money. And that is essential on city council. I want to keep this place special and not fundamentally change anything or chase the new shiny object. Let's grow with the community. The only thing constant in life is change, so we're going to have to adapt, but let's be humble and modest and actively listen to the community.
Nick, how would you describe the way you lead? How do you approach bringing people together if opinions differ in the context of effective decision-making? And can you share an example?
Well, since I probably should use collaborative again, I would say inclusive. So when I am working with groups, I know there is different perspectives on one range or one idea, or sorry, one range all the way to the other. And what's important is how do we find the commonalities with each other and accomplish a task? I've had experience doing this with our education foundation in our schools, in our community, with the creation of our community relations committee, and with working on the board of leadership up Arlington. On every single one of those organizations, I have worked collaboratively and inclusively with members of our community. And I hope they could say, Nick has always listened to me and brought people together. One of the old adages I always used when entering those types of conversations is be brave and give grace. I want to make sure everybody's brave enough to share their ideas and perspectives and have other people have the grace for them to accept those new ideas and perspectives. And I think that is vitally important in the coming years as our community continues to grow. We need to grow together.
Thank you. Laura?
So I would say I lead first and foremost with creativity and empathy. So as I mentioned, I've been working for myself for 15 years. I work with clients around the country and sometimes even in other parts of the world, which gives me an opportunity to hear from people with all sorts of different backgrounds and perspectives. We start with an audit of whatever the situation is. I won't get into crazy details, but you get an overview and you just listen to hear what they have to say. What are their concerns? What are they hoping for? And we come together and we find a plan that gets them prepared for the future. And that's my job, to basically act as a digital therapist where I say, all right, this is the technology you need to be prepared for what the next 10 years for your nonprofit, for your municipality, whomever I'm working with on any given day. And so that's how I lead. And that's how I've always led, with collaboration, of course, but also just being sure that I'm listening and hearing, not just sitting there listening, but hearing what people have to say, hearing their concerns, and figuring out how we can make the best possible decisions to help everyone involved and find compromises that makes everyone happy-ish enough. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Michael, how would you describe the way you lead, approach bringing people together, and share an example?
To me, leadership and leading is done by example and being the standard. Leadership is also situational. Every situation requires a different kind of leadership. Sometimes leaders, when you're leading, it means following and serving. Sometimes it means taking it head on and being the first one through the door. Bringing people together means listening, then working to understand where everyone's coming from, where their differences are, and then working on a solution that meets people to be happy-ish, but get to a place where everyone feels heard, and to the best of our ability, big picture, everything has been addressed. And that's a huge piece, understanding what the big picture is too. In terms of real life applications, we can go on the coaching side. I think John talked about coaching side. The way that I coach or coach and lead as a board member for youth football is different than the way that I coach my coaches, which is also different than the way that I coach the kids on the team. Everyone's at a different place in terms of their maturity and understanding of the big mission that we're trying to build. It's not about winning. It's not about winning. It's not about X's and O's either. It's about teaching the basics of being a good person, being a good human, understanding what discipline is, understanding how you get through practices that are difficult and how you overcome some of the adversity that's there. I went red. I apologize.
That's okay. And finally, Ben.
I believe in radical honesty. That means being direct, being truthful, and also being truthful about what people say to you. When someone tells you their viewpoint, your role is not to minimize or to parrot back at them a version of what they've said to you that favors your own version of reality. Your job is to tell the truth. And that's perhaps an occupational hazard of having been involved with the court system and having advised some folks in government on some of the most difficult challenges that have faced our state and nation. But the reality is, you cannot earn trust without truth. So I lead by telling difficult truths. Sometimes that means that you aren't that well liked. And so I also lead by taking people out to drinks. I believe in socializing with people. There was an article published a short time ago about what's missing in Washington. Well, what's missing in Washington, frankly, is that politicians no longer break bread together. They don't eat together. They don't talk together. They don't even regard each other as fellow specimens of the human race. We have to change that. We have to reach out to people. And we have to build bridges, social bridges, so that we can cross them when we need policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Upper Arlington is part of a region that needs to add significant housing to meet demand and affordability goals. As our community considers options like accessory dwelling units and more diverse housing types, how should we balance regional housing needs with local priorities, especially when it comes to affordability and creating options for seniors who want to downsize? And for this question, we'll begin with John Cousins and then work alphabetically. John?
Thank you. We have to separate first the region from Upper Arlington. In Upper Arlington, there is not a demand problem, there's a supply problem. People are going to continue to come here, and we can't just be too comfortable with that assumption, but we have a supply problem as a landlocked community, as a first suburb. We don't want density just for density's sake. And if there is going to be a push for density, we need to make sure it is carefully tailored to certain zones. But is the biggest thing that I'm hearing when I'm walking door to door is affordability for our seniors and our empty nesters and what to do for them. And they're talking about property taxes or they're talking about mortgage rates. But one thing we can do is zone. And that's something that has been in our power and our purview for quite some time. If a senior cannot move to certain areas because with smaller homes, because those smaller homes have been knocked over in favor of something twice the size. That's the first place I'd look, is our zoning power that we do have. I know that in my first house in Upper Arlington, I couldn't build a porch a foot further past the setback because of zoning laws. So we have the tools in the toolkit to be able to allow seniors to move into some of these homes with smaller footprints, smaller property taxes. We should start there.
Thank you. Nick?
So when we start talking about housing, I really get excited. I have 20 years of experience in real estate as a real estate appraiser and as a real estate salesperson with the Robert Weiler Company for the past 3. So yes, affordable housing is a big issue in Upper Arlington and in the Central Ohio region. We're going to be growing up to 3 million people in the middle of the estimates, upward of 3.6 million people per MORPC's 2025 forecasting models. When we come back and think about how does that impact Upper Arlington, we can see it today. We can see it in our streets. We can see it in our housing market cost, because we're kind of like in our cog is stuck. And what we need to do is to alleviate some of that is, one, yes, I fully think accessory dwellings would be one great way to help our community members, especially with their parents or younger siblings or family members who need a place to live. Second, when we think about housing diversity, we have to have our mixed use development for housing that can be condos, apartments, whatever it looks like. For new residents, you need to be moving in who are younger, and have step down housing for our empty nesters and our senior citizens, so they can all have the resources and the services that they have had their entire lives and age in a community that they've lived in their entire lives. So I think it's very important how we look at these issues, but I'll chat later about that.
Thank you. Laura, do you need me to repeat the question, or are you good?
No, I'm going to echo a lot of the things that you've already said. All in on ADUs. I spent some time looking at how cute the sheds are yesterday, actually. But at any rate, I think we can come up with creative ways to preserve accessible starter homes. I think that's the big thing that a lot of us see when it comes to housing in Upper Arlington. Some of the houses that maybe right out of college, right when you're first married, you might actually be able to afford, are all being ripped down to be replaced with larger places. I understand we do have the demand for the larger places, but we need to come up with creative ways to preserve some of the more affordable places so that anyone who wants to call Upper Arlington home can find a way to call Upper Arlington home, no matter what age you are. And I think that's just, we need to approach this with creative problem solving and try to come up with ways to think outside of what we have been doing for decades. Thank you.
Michael?
I'll take a repeat just in case.
Sure,
Us
no
at the
problem.
back end here.
You got it. Upper Arlington is part of a region that needs to add significant housing to meet demand and affordability goals. As our community considers options like accessory dwelling units and more diverse housing types, how should we balance regional housing needs with local priorities, especially when it comes to affordability and creating options for seniors who want to downsize?
So I think the local priority needs to be UA. One of the reasons that we're all up here is because we believe in something strong in the community. ADUs are very, very interesting, but I think they need to be situationally evaluated. And I say that because they don't fit in every neighborhood, and they're not going to fit in every neighborhood. And that's something that needs to be studied. One of the things that drew me to finance and draws me into finance, and why I nerd out on it probably too much, is that there's an expansive amount of data there. And we need to, as a council or as council people, evaluate what the data says. Listen to what the community says too. And if there are needs there and wants there, to follow that, follow the data. And one of the things too, as we talk about development and or redevelopment, because we are landlocked and there's not a lot left, is making sure that whatever development we do or whatever changes we make to the makeup, that it's not compromising the integrity of what makes this place so special and what makes us all want to be here and want to be involved.
And Ben?
Well, Kurt, I think the question hits the nail on the head. Balance is certainly the word. Good development is about balance. It's about a push-pull between the developer's profit motive and the community's interest in seeing that any development that comes in results in good architectural achievements, that results in good housing diversity, that results in amenities that help our community be strong and walkable and prepared for the next 25 to 50 years. Now, no question, we have an affordability problem. But frankly, the affordability problem goes deeper than structure. It goes to the dirt. If you buy a lot in UA, forget the house that's on it, the lots are not even really affordable at this point. So realistically, if we're going to have things which are affordable by a measure of someone who's not making $400,000 a year, we're going to have to think about going bigger. We're going to have to think about higher density. And I think we're going to have to do that in areas that are zoned multifamily and that are zoned commercial mixed use, because I also believe that people who buy a house in an area that's zoned single family have a set expectation in that zoning, and that is an expectation that they are entitled to have respected. That's how I feel about it, but I'm also perfectly happy to listen because I'm a lawyer, not a real estate agent.
And finally, on this question, Yukemi, are you good with the question or would you like me to?
I am.
You got it.
Thank you. Well, this is something that we cannot divorce where we're located within Central Ohio from the growth that's happening. And it's something that this current council said, well, why don't we do a housing study first to understand what do we have in UA? We know what's said about Central Ohio, but we have to start first with what is the issue here in this 9 square mile radius in terms of what type of housing we have, what needs we have. So that part of the work has been done, a housing study. Now, we need to critically look at that housing study partnered against our community survey that asks questions around housing and the affordability of housing. I'll tell you what that community survey says for those of you that haven't had a chance to look at it, and I would encourage you to look at both reports, the housing study and the community survey. This community recognizes that we are going to densify. Everyone almost is on that. Where we have not yet reached alignment and where we need to continue to work on alignment is what does that look like? And that's the question that we need to continue to have with this community, because we have the choice to be proactive to what that growth would be, or we will have to react to it. And I know firsthand that reactory work is not where we want to be. Thank you.
All right, the next question. The city of Upper Arlington is beginning the process of revisiting its strategic master plan, which will guide policies and priorities for the next 10 to 20 years. When it comes to business development, what areas do you believe should be prioritized? And what feedback are you hearing from residents on these issues? And for this question, we'll begin with Nick.
All right, thank you. So for this question, I'm really excited about revisiting our master plan because it can help create a vision for our future. So it's going to take a lot of us and a lot of perspectives and a lot of voices to get this done. With that said, there are certain zones in our area, in our community that would be perfect for this. I know they've started the Envision Henderson Road corridor and what that looks like into the future. There's a lot of possibilities up there because on top of that, the Links Us bus route is going to be right up off of Bethel Road, and that could help us connect into the larger Central Ohio area. There's also little different pockets all throughout our community. And people have mentioned that we don't have a central downtown area. And I've begun to think that's a true advantage for us. We can create these little pockets of mixed use development and creating areas that people want to walk to, they want to go to, and build community. That's what's really excites me about this master planning process is we can find these little areas. It could be the Mallway, it could be the shops at Lane Avenue, it could be the Kingsdale Shopping Center, maybe right here at the municipal building. We want to provide access to those areas and build community also through this master planning process. Thank you.
Laura?
Thank you. And Nick, we're very much on the same page with that. I think our big key is connection, and that means a few different things. That means connecting different parts of the community where you can get, say, from Henderson Road down to Fifth Avenue without needing a car. We need to be able to find ways for people to feel like they can get around their community safely, not just with cars, but with bikes, with scooters, with whatever else they use as their personal preferred form of transportation. I'm a small business owner. I work with a lot of small businesses, so I, of course, support business, but I want to make sure that whatever kind of development that we are having in Upper Arlington, we respect we listen to the wishes of the residences, because as Ben said, when you buy a house with a certain expectation and you suddenly have 6 stories behind you, that is something that people are telling me that they're upset about. So trying to balance that and being sure that we are collecting as much information as we can from people. The recent, the Zollinger corridor mobility study, they've done a great job of collecting concerns. And I'd like to see that we can do that with a lot of these different projects where there are ways for people to offer feedback other than sending an email and hoping that someone actually reads it. I think our big opportunity is shared spaces, placemaking with these little places where we can run into neighbors and have stronger connections with each other and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Now to Michael.
All right, rather than have you repeat it.
Happy to repeat.
No. I think I got it. I think I got it. Yeah. I mean, unless you want to.
I'll
Go
do,
ahead.
I'm happy to do it for any of you at any point. I don't want to take up, if you know what it is, I don't
I
want
will
to
try
bother
to
you.
go before the
The-
red.
The city of UA is beginning the process of revisiting its strategic master plan, which will guide policies and priorities for the next 10 to 20 years. When it comes to business development, what areas do you believe should be prioritized, and what feedback are you hearing from residents on these issues?
So our last master plan was done more than 10 years ago. Something that I think that maybe I won't say we dropped the ball, but we were focused on some other things. And anytime you're building something that is long lasting, that is going to kind of set the framework for the next 10, 15, 20 years and further, I think you have to do a good job listening. I think you have to do a great job communicating. And I think that's a place where, that's a place where we can do better. I think that we need to be more transparent with what we're thinking, with the shape of things and how they're going, and communicate them in different ways, whether that's social media, whether that's website, whether that's committee meetings. but offer up places where citizens, community members can be heard and felt like they're heard before decisions are made. And that's one of the things that I've heard lately is there's a feeling of that, where by the time communities that are, or neighborhoods that are most impacted are invited to communicate, many of the decision and groundwork has already been laid. And they feel like their voice is like yelling into a pillow or a Nerf wall, just not heard.
And finally, Ben?
I'm happy to be final. So I think COVID laid bare some of the risks in being narrow in business development. The paradigm of the big office building is I think a thing of the past. And I think the future, frankly, is mixed use. It has so many advantages. Walkability. We are facing unprecedented surge in density in Central Ohio. We are seeing already, just from when I was a boy in 1980s and 90s, there was pretty much nothing across the river, and there wasn't much north either. And now we're seeing traffic, people going from there to there and there to there. And there's going to be more of that. And one of the things we can do is, as we're encouraging development, we can be focusing on using our zoning powers, using requests for variance as leverage to shape that development, to ensure that it has green spaces, to ensure that it has walkability, to ensure that it brings amenities for neighborhoods that neighbors want to enjoy. This also aids our sense of community. If we were, for example, to establish DORAs, which is designated outdoor refreshment areas, in some key areas in Upper Arlington, I think we could encourage some more restaurants. I think we could encourage some more community building. People coming together around shared food and drink is a powerful thing. So that's how I look at business development. But as ever, I'm happy to listen to what you have to say.
Kemi.
Thank you. I think this is an important question because as we think about business development and we think about city government and how we actually pay for those roads and our aging infrastructure, newsflash, we're a 110-year-old community. Our fire hydrants, just found out those have to be replaced after 100 years, and it is a lot of money. So those business taxes actually help and are very critical for us to think about how we attract the right businesses. And some of the work that we've already done on council, a word that's used, how we prioritize business development is the city itself first needs to think, are we an amenity-rich community? That's a word of art, but amenity-rich for a business to come here, to choose Upper Arlington, to put its headquarters or its office, it's thinking about what are my employees going to enjoy on their lunchtime? Is it the walk? Is it the lunch? Is those kind of things? So we should be using the master planning process to think, what are the areas in our community, and Laura said the placemaking, that attracts the right businesses because we have the amenity richness for them to be here. Thank you.
And finally, John.
Thank you. I spent my childhood, half of it in Ardmore, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and the other half in Bay Village, Ohio, just outside of Cleveland. And I know that you could start on one suburb and drive an hour and a half and you'd still be in a Cleveland or Philadelphia suburb. We have room. Let's worry about Upper Arlington first before we worry about hypothetical classes of individuals coming into Upper Arlington. I could throw football and hit, an undeveloped area outside west of Plain City. And in Cleveland and Philadelphia, those would be perfectly fine suburbs. We have room in Central Ohio for growth. We don't have room in Upper Arlington for growth. I subscribe to the G.K. Chesterton view that if there's a fence in the middle of a field, there are people that will bulldoze it without asking questions. And then there are people like me who will pause, use some impulse control, listen, and figure out why that fence is there in the first place. So I believe, as Nick said, when I first came here, I thought, where's the downtown area, like Worthington and Westerville? And I do think we have a really unique experience in the Mallway, and we can turn one of the shops on, or have one of the shops on Lane, and Envision Henderson. I would start in the master plan, Envision Henderson, but not in a way that changes the character of our community, and not in a way that takes away any green park space. Because parkland, once you take any portion of it away, you can never get it back.
All right. For this next question, we'll begin with Laura for this question. Upper Arlington has many organizations and entities, from schools to city services, nonprofits, and community groups, all working in different ways to enhance the lives of residents. If elected, how would you foster strong cooperative relationships with these organizations? What strategies would you use to keep communication open and ensure the city is working effectively with its partners to serve residents? Laura?
Thank you. That's a great question. So I'm going to my first Connect UA meeting coming up soon, and that's the organization that's relatively new. And I'm sorry, I don't remember when you started. Okay.
It's a few years old, Network UA.
Okay, Network UA, I'm sorry, which I think is great. How can we do more things like that, where we bring these different organizations? We have all these affinity groups that are trying to support different communities in Upper Arlington. The more we can work together, the more we can accomplish. So I'd love to see that continue to grow and find out how we can do more of that. One of my big things is that we mend our divisions when we spend time together in person talking with our neighbors, meaning we are not on screens, we're not angry on Facebook, we're not assigning judgments to people. We are spending time in person talking and understanding our differences and trying to figure out how we can best move forward. And anytime we have an opportunity to regularly have those groups who are working so hard together, and then maybe we have regular town halls that feature these groups and highlight what they're doing, and just ways to show, here are all the things that people are doing in Upper Arlington and Equal UA and Sustainable UA, all these organizations. Here's what we're doing, and here's how we can support each other to help, because we all know that when we work together, we can accomplish so much more. Thank you.
Now to Michael.
I think that that is a very loaded question in terms of trying to connect everything. The best teams, whether they're business, whether they're the way I was when I was younger or when I got older, and then now on the coaching side of sports, the best teams have an open door policy. And I say open door policy, meaning you can say if you have a problem, you can say if there's an issue, you can speak your mind and feel like you're being heard. And that's a huge part of bringing anybody together, is being able to communicate in a way where you feel heard, and then working to find a way to bring everybody together. I think that if we focus on, and I mean, it's been beat, all of us have said collaboration. That is a huge part of this community. And if we focus on that, we win.
Ben?
So politics is the art of organizing people to accomplish things that we can't do on our own. And I love our community groups because they are essentially making our jobs easier. They are doing politics themselves on their own time with no goal at all except the good of their community. And whether it's Rotary, whether it's Equal UA, whether it's UAPA, my hat is off to those groups. That said, we do need to engage more on council. And I think one of the barriers to that is that if you want to speak to council, if you want to come into this chamber and talk to us, you have to be talking about an agenda item. And I think it would be great if we had a quarterly meeting where any group of citizens could come in and present a problem, an issue, a question, God willing, a compliment, and could just say what's on their mind, and we would listen and think it over. I think that would be a great stride for our community. Thank you.
Ukemi?
Kurt, would you mind repeating the question? Is it just
course.
collaboration with our community groups?
Sure. UA has many organizations and entities, from schools to city services, nonprofits, and community groups, all working in different ways to enhance the lives of residents. If elected, how would you foster strong cooperative relationships with these organizations? What strategies would you use to keep communication open and ensure the city is working effectively with its partners to serve residents?
Thank you. This is the question that I think about a lot, currently serving on council. We've done some things on council. I think COVID fundamentally changed how people care to engage. So we have to think about that because we actually piloted a Coffee with Council initiative where we were out there once every quarter and not met minimal results. People just don't like to come to things anymore. So we have to get really creative on how we reach people. And it can't always be virtual. And we got to work with our groups to meet people where they're at, where they are already doing something within the community. So even whether in our civic engagement and when we've done community surveys or tried to get input from community members, we think about what's already the events that's happening and how do we infiltrate or get into those things. I think that's one creative way to do it. I have championed revamping our boards and commission process so we make sure that we welcome different types of voices that serve this city. And when you do that, chances are they are all in different social circles and are able to hear different things that they can also bring back to us. This is incumbent on kind of like all of us understanding the post-COVID era of how people care to gather. In saying, hey, let's get creative on how we meet them. And one last initiative we've just tried, it's a virtual method, but from council, we have Council's Corner and council members share their perspectives there once every 2 months. So we're trying, but this is a tough one and one that I actually do think about a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Thank you. Well, I have good news. Everybody on this panel here was a child before the internet and an adult after the internet. So we know how to communicate better than any other generation. I say that being a terrible communicator myself with my children, but I think that we have a unique opportunity to use a myriad of different ways to communicate with people, whether it's social media. The charter says the government in control of the city shall be vested in 7 citizens, not 7 full-time government employees, not 7 people with office hours. So all of us need to figure out the most efficient way of hearing from the members of the community. Here's the bad news. There's a national food fight going on. There's a tendency to want to join one party or another. I think all politics is local. That's what Tip O'Neill said. We need to recognize that we are people before partisan politicians. And the way to do that is to recognize what city council is about. And that is not, Republican or Democrat. It is people first. And I think there needs to be a big push towards educating the public on what city council does: mosquito spraying, street sweeping, snow plowing. Party politics can be just as relevant as iPhone or Android, Browns or Bengals. And I think that we need to first make that very clear.
Thank you. Nick?
So this question really excites me also. A lot of things are exciting me this evening. But it is about 5 years ago, it was during COVID, when Network UA, that's an organization where it brings a lot of the community's organizations all together so we can talk with each other. What we found was we're all operating, all these different community organizations are operating in a silo. We're all trying to put the heavy lift on ourselves to hold an event, try to hold a fundraiser or something like that. So what we really try to do, and it was a big help with the city, it was to revamp the way we do things. And that is work collaboratively, there's that word again, with every organization. So it took years of building relationships between organizations. So a couple of examples of things that have come out of that. When our UA Education Foundation partners with our UA Community Foundation, we just had a fostering conversation that was for our brought in John O'Leary to speak with our students and our community members. There's also organizations like our AAPI organizations, our CRC, and our schools who brought together our Cherry Blossom event. There's the Pride, where Rainbow UA has collaborative organization or working with Equal UA and other organizations. There's a lot of good that's come from this, and we just need to amplify it and continue to work on it.
All right, we're coming into the final time together here. This is your closing statement. You have 30 seconds. And this question, same one as we asked the school board candidates. What is one thing you want community members to take away with them that differentiates you from the other candidates? And for this, we'll begin with Michael.
Well, I'm going to say thank you guys again for coming, for staying this long, for listening to all of us talk about collaboration. I say that tongue in cheek. But the things that set me apart or differentiate me, my background, my experience, my love for the community. My background in finance has helped me work with lots and lots of folks from lots of different places, solving all sorts of different issues. And that's some of the work that I found most gratifying, is picking out a strategy that works and is workable and malleable to why we work towards our goals I went over.
Thank you. Ben?
My campaign has been focused on going door to door. I've been to about 5,000 houses. I've been to the houses of many of you here in this room. And that's because I care what you think. Genuinely. Representative government is not me conning you into putting me into office so I can do what I want to do. It's me asking for your vote so that I can get into office and enact your vision. This is about you, not about me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yukemi?
I do want to start by saying thank you all for being here tonight. Democracy only works when you show up and care. So thank you. When I listed my the stats of accomplishments earlier, I reserved one to share in my closing remarks. And that's our community survey that came out earlier this year. 92% of this community say they trust the current city government to do the right thing. That to me is the most powerful endorsement that this community can give and has given. And that's what I've been working so hard on for the last 4 years. I'll be honored to have you vote again on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Another promising part of the community survey said 98% of Upper Arlington believed that we were either excellent or good as far as a place to raise a family. And that is excellent news. It also concerned me because there's never been a civilization in history that has gone up, 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 forever, the end. My biggest fear is complacency. When you reach a point, it becomes human nature to want to tinker with what works. I guess I'm the new guy. I've only been here for the better part of 2 decades, but I've lived elsewhere, and I will not take Upper Arlington for granted. I want to keep this a special place for people like me who came here to build a life, and for people like my friends and neighbors and children who were born here and who want the option to come back here. Thank you very much, and I hope to have your vote on November 4th.
Thank you. Nick?
So thank you again for coming tonight, and thank you for leadership up Arlington. I have over 20 years of experience in the real estate field, and I have been deeply engaged in our community. And through those experiences, I have learned and I've continued to listen to you. So there's a couple areas of I'm going to be working on: smart strategic development, leadership, and pathways for our community members so they have a voice. We must also sustain our high levels of city services while continuing to innovate, and then also make sure we have a community of culture and care. So I look forward to your vote, and I continue to work for it on November 4th. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. And Laura?
Thank you again, everyone, for being here. So every study that studies happiness, connections, communities, it's all about how relationships are the best indicator for a long, happy life. So how can we build relationships? My experience in building community, my experience in communication, my experience in starting organizations gives me a great advantage where we can find ways to get people together in person, off screens, talking and discussing what they want for our community, because we all share this space. And so we have this opportunity to try to really prioritize connections and relationships. Thank you. And I hope you'll vote for me on or before November 4th.
Thank you. Now I'm going to call a quick audible and give each candidate 5 minutes to talk about scooters. Go. No, round of applause for all of them, please. On behalf of the UA community, we want to thank all of the candidates for taking part in tonight's forum. We appreciate all of you for taking time to run for these very important positions of leadership. On behalf of Leadership UA and the Upper Arlington Community Foundation, we thank all of you for attending tonight's event, both in person and those of you who are watching online. We encourage all of you to reach out to any candidate for whom you have more questions or wish to continue talking about any of the topics that we discussed here tonight. Please be sure to vote on or before November 4th, and a recording of this event will be available on the city's and Community Foundation's website. So thank you all for being here, and safe travels home. Be well.